I'm Ron Smith, Extension Entomologist at Auburn University, and I have with me today Dr. Scott Graham, our new cotton, soybean, peanut entomologist at Auburn. So today we're going to talk about thrips and then maybe about grasshoppers a little bit later. By using our thrips model, we've been looking at it now for a month or more, and it appeared as in a general rule that we were going to have pretty heavy thrips pressure in the southern part of the state during the month of April, and heaviest thrips pressure in the northern part of the state was going to be during the month of May. So we're here at Prattville today, and we're still getting a lot of heavy thrips damage right here, and it's been going on now for 2 to 3 weeks. So we have had heavy pressure on our cotton that got planted on time this year. It's somewhat less pressure is to be expected on the cotton that may be emerging after about the middle of May. So maybe we won't have to do any more to that. But the cotton here in central Alabama that was planted and emerged in April and early May has all needed a foliar spray over our seed treatment. So over the years, we have seen our most effective and best thrips control when we make the first foliar application when it's needed to that first true leaf stage. And if cool nights continue for a while, we've had instances both the last 2 seasons where that one foliar spray on top of the seed treatment at planting would not hold, so we'd have to even think about a second foliar spray, and that's the case this year in our early planted cotton in April. Cotton we're looking at today here and working with in our trials was planted, one was planted on April 15th, and I believe the second one on April 22nd. So we've been through 3 weeks of slow growing cotton with cool nights, and we needed 2 thrip sprays. And one thing we've learned this year is if the nights stay cool and the cotton is not growing, you may need a second spray, and if you need it, you're going to need it in about 7 days following the first one, because we've got ours set up to do 14 days apart, and we're seeing a lot of thrips injury behind a spray 14 days after the spray.
What we've got here is some pretty drastic differences in protection of thrips. So in my left hand here, we've got a plant that received only a fungicide insecticide or fungicide seed treatment. There was no insecticide component on this plant. And here we have a plant that did receive an at-plant insecticide. So you can really see the difference, not only in the root growth, which is pretty obvious, but in the foliage. This plant is showing severe thrips injury. It's going to be delayed. If it survives, it's going to be delayed probably 7 to 10 days at least, compared to this plant here, which has very, very little thrips injury and is off to a really good start for the season.
So what's the difference between treatments?
So this, in my left, we have fungicide only with no insecticide. In my right hand, this is actually out of carb, Ag Logic at 3.5 pounds per acre. So this is kind of really shown out in our plots this year under tremendous thrips pressure. It's done really well.
Turn over here and look at this one. You're kind of looking at the best and the worst here in just those 2 plots.
Yeah.
Scott, we are beginning to get a few questions this year of whether a farmer can get by without the seed treatment, particularly planting it later in the season. And my answer has been it's really risky to avoid that seed treatment. It's so valuable. We've just observed year after year that the foliar sprays won't hold that long. So what would be your comment on that to a grower?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're fortunate to have in our research is the ability to see plots that are completely untreated. I know we're starting to see some issues with our seed treatments where we feel like they're not providing what they once did, but when you're able to see these plots in the field that have no insecticide seed treatment at planting, it's pretty obvious that we're still getting a lot of benefits out of our seed treatments. So really, to me, if you're looking for ways to try to save some money, I know it's a tough year this year with the economics, you're not going to want to skip on an insecticide seed treatment. It's really really important to get our crop off to a good start, and we're really seeing that with seed treatments.
And Eddie, I would just say that that would continue for me as long as we're planting into the late season here. What we can avoid, hopefully, in the late season is avoid having to make that foliar spray. But we still want to stay with the seed treatment.